And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of Subjective Symposium. I'm your host, DeathMetalHero, and with me is Literature Devil. How you doing today, sir?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming, man. And we do have Michale Oden going to be joining us this evening, and we're going to be talking about Pattinson. And I guess I should probably say my basic idea for this show. Basically, this is just our opinions. That's why it's subjective. I am of the opinion that Robert Pattinson is not. What's the word?
Best?
Well, he's not imposing enough to be Batman. He doesn't strike me as like. I mean, Batman's supposed to strike fear into the hearts of criminals everywhere. Yeah, it's Pattinson. And anyway, so we'll just have opinions bandied back and forth, and we'll use our knowledge of the character, what we've seen of the production, what we know of the actor, what we know of the director, and maybe somebody gets their mind changed, maybe not. But the point is a good conversation. So,
no, check it out.
Yeah. So have you seen the most recent trailer for the Batman?
No, I actually haven't been keeping up with that movie. I just kind of forgot about it for a little bit.
Yeah. I did too. But Oden and I were having a conversation on Twitter, and because I said something one morning when you guys were on Morning Nonsense, and he DM'd me on Twitter. He's like, "No, I fully believe." Like, dude, you're in the middle of a lot. What are you doing? But yeah, so I was like, all right, fine, let's have this conversation. And since he was on your show, you got drug into it too.
That sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah. So, all right, what's your favorite Batman story? We'll talk Batman while we're waiting for him to show up.
My favorite Batman story is one of them has to be The Killing Joke, and it's like a go-to, but it actually is really good. It's a really good one. But I also like the Court of Owls. That was interesting, and Death of the Family. I think.
Death of the Family is great. Yes. A Lonely Place of Dying is another good one. It's a Robin-centric one. It's more about Dick Grayson rather than Tim Drake.
Oh yeah.
Another
one I really enjoy also was Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader. That one's really good.
Yes.
It goes in the nature.
That was Neil, right?
Yeah, this is Neil Gaiman. I don't know if you know or not, but I like Neil Gaiman a little bit.
I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but so do I.
It's really good.
What's up, guys?
Oden? Hey, man. Welcome.
Oh, we had torrential downpour outside, and of course this meant that every single fucking person was driving like a bunch of spineless little bitches, driving like 10 miles an hour and 30 fucking mile per hour roads, and going half the speed limit down the goddamn highway.
It sounds like driving in this state when it's raining, and we get hurricanes down here. It's like, you live down here. Are you not used to these hurricanes by now? So yeah,
goodness.
I can only imagine what would happen if it snowed in this state. Like the entire state shut down, just done.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it blew me away because the last time it snowed here, I live in Virginia. The last time it snowed here, we actually had our shit together, which blew my mind.
Right.
Like we've had snowstorms pretty much every year since 2016. We've had some form of snow or another, and every single time it's just been nobody has their shit together and it's utter chaos. But the last time it snowed, for whatever fucking reason, everyone was on point, and I was just like, wow, well, good for you.
It shows you that there still are some surprises in the world, huh?
Yeah, no shit.
Well, welcome, man. I'm glad you made it safely, and you didn't get run off the road by some putz somewhere.
Yeah, man. In the words of the immortal Tobey Maguire, I had to run over 3 little old ladies to get here. So
they probably deserved it.
Yeah,
that's dedication.
Yeah. What's up, Shadowhawk? Shadowhawk. Yeah, I'm going to abuse that. What's up, Replicant? Good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Skull Flying Feline, thank you for coming to hang out. What's up, Comic Cowboy? Thank you for coming to hang out. Oh, we're just getting warmed up here. Just getting warmed up. Odin, we were talking about our favorite Batman stories.
Ooh.
Yeah, just to get a little warmed up with the Batman thing before we jump into the main event of you trying to convince me to not laugh at Robert Pattinson in a suit.
You know, that's my whole thing, is that at the end of the day, I think that if Robert Pattinson is your biggest worry about this, it just goes to show that, like, Robert Pattinson, yes, the Twilight movies were terrible.
I'm
but
not even talking about that. I've never seen anything else that he's done that's really blown me away.
Yeah, but like that's the whole thing, is he really went away from mainstream filmmaking after Twilight, because he was like, yeah, his whole thing was, I've made my cash cow that will make sure that I never hurt for money again, which is actually something that I'm going to bring up in the Batman, because he is the lowest paid actor to have ever donned this role. He only took $3 million for the role. He's the lowest paid Batman actor to have ever played on it. Christian, I think, it's really, like, he does not take any role that he is not interested in, because money isn't a problem for him. He gets royalty checks from the Twilight franchise all the time. Like, he was very smart about this. Like, yeah, this is a really dumb thing. He didn't like it. Like, you see in his interviews where he's just like, yeah, I just kind of, I read this script and I was like, okay, I'm just going to act like the creepiest fuckwit that I can imagine. And that's just, that's how this happened. But, like, you know, to shift this back, because you asked me Batman.
No. We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Like, let's talk Batman stories. You know,
let's talk good Batman stories first.
For my favorite Batman story is actually it's not even like a full-on storyline. It was a short story from the original collection of Batman Black and White called Good Evening Midnight. And the whole premise of it is that it's Bruce Wayne's birthday, and Alfred has his birthday cake and everything. And the whole story is, it opens up with Alfred letting in this cat into Wayne Manor and saying good evening midnight. And so it's Alfred effectively celebrating Bruce Wayne's birthday alone, and he's reading a letter that Thomas Wayne left for his son when he was younger, and he's reading it, and it's this like heartbreaking and simultaneously affirming thing to see how both Bruce is embodying and what Thomas Wayne wanted him to be, while simultaneously having to be this thing that Thomas Wayne never wanted for his son.
Oh, and yeah, I mean, no parent would.
It's outstanding, and it's probably my favorite Batman story I've ever read. They actually made a motion comic out of it a while ago.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good. And that was back when Batman Black and White was actually good. Like, they had Neil Gaiman do a Batman story for it, that like back when they actually had talented people come on and do the work on those.
Pretty sure Warren Ellis did a story in one of those Black and White collections. I know it had a Jim Lee cover, and I was like, oh, okay, what?
But yeah, like, and yeah, like that was my whole thing. Is I think that's probably my favorite Batman story. All in all, like there are some great storylines out there that I've always really enjoyed. I know that it's divisive, but I do really like The Dark Knight Returns. It was one of those books.
How is The Dark Knight Returns divisive? I mean, it's a good Batman story.
In the Batman community, you either love it, you see people that love it, or hate it. The people that love it are like, oh my God, it's like my favorite Batman thing ever. And the people that hate it are like, this is the reason why Batman's so fucked up now. Like,
yeah.
That's the one where they totally say that Batman kills people. Batman kills people. And that one, no, he doesn't. Like, not one person, as far as I've seen.
Well, so there is a sequence in The Dark Knight Returns where he's taking down the mutants at the base, and he's in the Batmobile, and he's shooting them with rubber bullets. And at one point, a grenade is about to get thrown, and the thug gets shot by a rubber bullet, and he drops it into a case of grenades, and they blow up, and they kill, like, it blows up around a bunch of other mutants. So, like, it's one of those things where like those guys are probably not alive anymore.
Probably. But I mean, they kind of brought it on themselves.
Like, yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like Wolverine, as I said, like in the Batman community, you either really like Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns or you really don't. My whole thing is that like, as someone that's come in and I've read a bunch of Batman from all these different eras at this point, you know, I can appreciate what The Dark Knight Returns did, and I can appreciate it as its own little story.
That's pretty awesome.
It is a really good take on Batman, but it is not the definitive Batman story that everyone makes it out to be, I don't think.
Yeah. Although it was a good story, it was an ending to the story. There was no reason why he should have ever made sequels to that thing.
Oh God! We just pretend that Dark Knight Strikes Again, Master Race, and
that would never happen.
We
don't talk about
it just didn't happen.
Yeah, occasionally.
All-Star Batman and Robin was just really bad fan fiction with really solid art, and that's what we'll leave that at as well.
Why? That was a great comic book.
No, that's not even.
What do you remember when it was coming out? It's like we were all excited about it. Like I was still doing last Wednesday when that book series came out, and we were all excited. We went to the comic shop, we picked it up, we're reading it, and we all kind of just look at each other. We're like, this isn't all that good. What's going on here?
It's one of those things that at the time you see Jim Lee doing art, Frank Miller writing story on Batman. There is no way that this can be bad. And then you open the first page and you go, what happened? Like you don't even make it like 2 pages in before you just go, what the
what is this dialogue? It's atrocious. Like, the whole thing is
going
atrocious.
on.
If we're talking about like what was it? Also, Batman and Robin. That thing's atrocious from page 1. I guess it's awful.
Yeah, it really is.
Like really offensive.
Batman throws Dick Grayson down a well and starves him. He's like, you have to go hunt the rats.
It's like they're making fun. It's like a Batman parody or something.
You know what? I think I know why that story was so terrible. I think that's around the same time that Frank Miller and Lynn Varley got divorced. I think that was right after they got divorced. Because that was after DK2, right, Oden?
What, All-Star?
Yeah, All-Star. That came after DK2, right?
No, DK2 is Dark Knight Strikes Again, you mean?
Yeah.
I thought that it came before. That's one of those things where I was way too young. I wasn't into the collecting scene at that point. That's the whole thing. Is I got really into reading Batman comics when I was working at Barnes and Noble, and I got like sick discounts on trades.
Oh hell yes, dude!
Like
I worked at a small bookshop up in New Hampshire. Yeah. Oh yeah. DC had like a whole thing of buy one get one free, and then on top, like that went alongside with my 30% employee discount. So like nice.
I would be bringing home, like I'd get paid and they'd be like, here's 6 trade papers.
Yeah, here's my entire paycheck. Yep. All-Star Batman and Robin came out in 2005.
Oh God!
Yeah, it started in 2005. So yeah, if you look at Dark Knight Strikes Again, you can see that Lynn Varley was trying some digital colors that just did not fucking work. I don't know if she was just getting used to them or what, but that book was kind of a mess as well. And yeah, they got divorced shortly after that. And I think All-Star Batman and Robin is a direct result of just my speculation. Because of all the giant page of Vicky Vale in her underwear walking around her apartment.
Yeah.
One thing I have to say though on that one is that I took that script from also Batman and Robin, and where he's like, "Okay, Jim, I'm shameless," like he's an ass shot. I took that script and said, "Okay, artist. Okay, I told my artist I'm going to do Lady Midnight next after Dr. Alpha's done. Okay, I said, here's where I'm going to make my script like." For Lady Midnight. Okay.
God, no, please let go.
Okay, detail the bra. Detail the panties. Make him drool,
Don't
Jim.
do it.
Make him drool.
You're better than that.
It's fucking funny.
Even for the sake of satire.
We're gonna have
I mean, that's some meta satire right there.
There's a splash page just for the butt or something like that. Okay, Jim Shales.
But you know what you could do? You could do it like a framing story. You got a dude at a typewriter, he's all hunched over and he's clickety clackety and he's got this manic look on his face, and it's he's writing the script for his artist, and then you do the comic book.
Could you imagine being Jim Lee in that position? You're like, I'm finally gonna get a chance to work with
right?
And you're like all excited, and then you get the script.
It's like a paycheck.
Are you sure? Are you sure this is where you want? Yeah, I'm a fucking legend. I'm Frank Miller. Do what I tell you. And you're like, okay.
Well, Jim Lee, what are you, stupid? I'm a goddamn Frank Miller.
Right. Being stuck in a rock in a hard place. But the good thing for Jim at that point is, people were used to him being on a book for a little bit and then gone. Yeah. Somebody else comes in to fill in, usually like Ryan Benjamin or something like that. Somebody that can mimic his style a little bit.
Oh,
I mean, hell, they could hire his inker, Scott Williams. Scott Williams could ape Jim Lee's style if he needed to. I feel fully confident he could. What's up, Neff? Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming to hang out. We are all interdimensional beings, Comic Cowboy. Different paths.
Oh man! But anyway,
Hush. I never got to say what my what my favorite Batman story is, because it's drawn by Jim Lee, but it's actually well written. Jeff Loeb did a good job with that story. They absolutely fucked up the story in the animated movie.
Yeah, we don't talk about the animated movie.
Oh, good. Okay,
we're just gonna let that be, because DC animation has gone down the toilet since Flashpoint. So like they have a onesie twosie okay one, but for the most part, it's all shit now. It really is. It's bad. I'm tired of people being like, well, it's better than Marvel animation. Like, that's not an argument, because Marvel hasn't been making
jump over you.
It's like Marvel actively was like, you know what, you guys can have the animation field. Like that, like they haven't made an animated movie in fucking years, and the ones that have come out, they aren't actually done by Marvel. It's like, yeah, sure, you can make an animated film using our properties. Right? Like they do not give a fuck about animation. The most that they do with it is occasionally put out a really shitty animated kids TV show. And like the last great Marvel animation thing we got was Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. So,
yeah, that was the TV series that they did, right? The animated series.
That's incredible, and is better than even what they did with the MCU. It's so good. But anyways, like so. Yeah, Batman Hush is a great story. That was the story that got me to really appreciate the Riddler as a villain. Like, because before I was like, why the fuck does anyone care about this clown? And then I read Hush and I went, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, no, it shows you that he can be a threat.
This was really good. And I think that's actually a pretty good segue into the main topic, because
I was wondering,
the film
since they're focusing on the Riddler with this film, so I'm wondering if Hush is something of an influence.
I don't think. Okay, so I think based off what we know about the movie,
right?
I think that the majority of the influence that we're going to see from Matt Reeves, based off of how he's talked about it at, he talked in great deal about his inspirations and everything at DC Fandom, and based off of what we saw in the trailers, is we're going to have a lot of influence from the early detective stories from like the Golden Age, from like that era. We're going to have a lot of influence from Frank Miller's Year One. And but first and foremost, we're going to have a lot of influence from Batman Ego.
Okay.
And that was
I've ever read that.
That was actually one of the things that, they asked him at Fandom what his favorite Batman story was. And he said that his favorite story was Ego. And they recently, it was revealed that there was a test demographic screening done for at random here about a month ago, I guess, at this point.
Okay.
Where effectively the whole purpose of this was Matt Reeves's cut of the film is 3 hours long. And so they effectively did what Marvel did for Endgame, where they got a test demographic screening done to see if people enjoyed the film and were able to get through the long run time and what have you. Based off of that, it did very well. It scored 9s and 10s. But the big thing that was coming out about it is that it is narrated by Batman. There's a lot of it kind of like,
so it's kind of like leaning into the first person narrative aspect of it. So
kind of like, you know, like it didn't really come out to the extent of which, but what I'm kind of thinking is, you know how in like the early Batman books, you would have a lot of him looking at a crime scene, and you have the thought boxes of him breaking down and analyzing evidence at the crime scene. That's going to be what you get a lot of in the movie. There's going to be a lot of that, kind of like what they did with the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, where he's like, you know, he's analyzing a lot of evidence. He's. I'm
honestly okay with that. I've often wondered why there isn't more of that, because, you know, we do see thought balloons in comics. I mean, I realize if overused, it could be really cheesy, but in certain circumstances, it could add to the, you know, the nuance. You know?
For Batman, it's perfect, and especially with like, it's very clear that Reeves really wants to key in on this. This detective element of Batman. He really wants it. And that's going to be the big thing here. That's the reason why I have been as much of a supporter of this since the beginning, because Matt Reeves has done nothing but impress me his entire career.
What I'm not super familiar. What else has he done?
Like the earliest film of his that people will recognize is Cloverfield.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The big thing that really put him on the map was that he directed and wrote the script for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes, which were both exceptional films. Like I was straight up like the fact that Andy Serkis didn't get nominated for an Oscar for the mocap stuff that he did as Caesar. In Dawn was criminal. Like it was easy.
Serkis is amazing.
Yeah, Andy Serkis's work in those films was exceptional, and I think that, you know, the quality of Reeves as a director really showcases in the talent that he's even brought on for this movie. I mean, he's got Andy Serkis back as Alfred, and then so he's got Andy Serkis as Alfred. Well, I mean, dude, Serkis is one of those guys that's got such immense range. I have no doubt he's just going to fucking knock it out of the park.
All right. So I got to be honest. I would almost buy Andy Serkis as a grizzled detective Batman and Pattinson as Nightwing more than I buy Pattinson as Batman. I'm sorry. There's just and that's it's not even anything to do with the Twilight. It's the build in, you know, his delivery, his voice.
What this all comes down to though is the movie. The movie isn't out yet.
No, it's not.
So we can't make that much judgment off of things.
No, this is based purely on what I've seen from the trailers.
Yeah,
you know.
But like it, you know. At the end of the day, if you're doing a detective-based Batman story, and you're doing more of the thought elements of stuff, obviously we're going to be seeing fight scenes in there. It's Batman. It's a superhero thing that's going to be in there. But this is a Batman whose mind is the weapon, right?
Well, yeah.
His build has been
sorely lacking from all of the Batman films.
Bingo. And his build in this, I think, is very fitting for that. You know, he's got an athletic build, but his armor's even tailored for mobility. So like the whole point is he can move quick in it. It's there are definitely places where you see kind of like weak points and everything. I feel bad because like this is supposed to be me and Lit Dev also going back and forth, and I've been hogging the spotlight here. So once I finish this thought, I'm gonna let him talk for a bit. But like that's been my whole thing is Robert Pattinson is an actor that I didn't have a lot of stock in initially either. But my whole thing has always been, well, Matt Reeves chose Pattinson. He was given a few actors that were testing for the role, and it came down to the last two, and he picked Pattinson. And if Reeves sees something in him, then I'm willing to give that the benefit of the doubt.
Sure. I mean, I'm willing to, I mean, it's not like I can do anything about it anyway. Oh yeah, I don't want it to happen. Yeah, whatever.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening. It's I just honestly I don't usually care about DC anyway, but I don't really. Overall, it seems like they're all on a decline now. So I'm willing to give this a benefit of the doubt. I mean, hell, we got Joker, and that was kind of like a deconstructionist, but Joker could have been any kind of person losing their mind, like kind of like a break with reality, kind of like falling down or a taxi driver, or, So it didn't necessarily have to be the Joker. So I can see where Matt might be trying to do something like that, like kind of a stripped back version instead of this full blown thing. So what do you think, Lit Dev?
I mean, it doesn't look too offensive to me. The only thing is that the fighting style he used was like, it seemed more like brawler style than a guy who actually knows what he's doing. But what's really the main offensive part of all this is that the actor's attitude, like, I don't want to work out. I don't want to do this. Like,
I don't think that, and this actually comes into like
about that.
This is my whole thing with all of that is, and this is something
Pops, thanks, man.
This has been something that I've been paying attention to. Warner Brothers has been executing what I like to call a high stakes poker marketing, right?
Okay.
Where, you talked about the Joker, right? They're so their whole thing right now is they screwed up a lot by trying to mimic Marvel. They tried to rush movies out to try and get a cinematic universe together.
A lot.
A
lot.
Yeah, like and so on top of that, then they also started interfering with those films and got called out for it, and stuff was not good. Mm-hmm. And so what I think that we've been seeing here the past few years, and this is included with Robert Pattinson's comments, is they are literally just throwing they throw stuff out there, mm-hmm. and effectively they make sure that there is, even if it's something as small as, Robert Pattinson being like, oh, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna work out this, that, or the other, which wasn't even true. Like he said that he wasn't, but then like within a week you saw images of him literally doing workouts with his trainer and everything. Like a lot of the controversy for this film is fabricated, and it's a marketing tactic, because the whole point is that they create a controversy that gets people talking about it, that gets people bitching, doing this, that, or the other, and then they don't comment. They don't show their cards and everything. And if the movie does well, then they go, yeah, like we knew it was going to do well all along, and then they double down on it. And if it doesn't do well, they just quietly shelve it. Perfect example is look at Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey is a fucking mess. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible movie. It got some okay reviews from critics because people they've never read a fucking comic book ever.
Yeah, but we all know Birds of Prey only failed because men didn't go see it. Okay?
Yes, of course. That's totally what it was. Kathy Yan was very clear that it was because the world wasn't ready for a movie like Birds of Prey.
A movie about like female badass, a team of badass females. Yes, no, we definitely
fantastic. We're not ready for that. I like that their go-to excuse is always I'm just too much of a genius.
Yeah, no, it's like oh man, but like that's the whole thing is that Birds of Prey is not getting a sequel. Like hell, there was even talks a little while ago that Margot Robbie might even be exiting as Harley Quinn because
I heard about that too. I remember Ryan Johnson's Star Wars trilogy. When is that coming out?
Yeah, that's never fucking happened.
With
like,
any luck, never.
But like you're never going to hell. You even saw another thing that happened recently. You had the whole thing where it was leaked out that Warner Brothers was doing the race swapped Clark Kent Superman thing, right? The entire fucking internet blew up because of that and the fact that it was going to be written by Coates, who's a piece of shit. And then all of a sudden, what happened?
Yeah,
Within a month, there was an announcement that Michael B. Jordan, an official announcement that Michael B. Jordan was doing a Val Zod series for HBO Max, and there hasn't been talk about the J.J. Abrams, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Black Clark Kent film.
Good.
Since. That's dead. And that's effectively what they're doing. Is it's effectively high stakes poker with them. They're doing a bunch of these random projects that are very different tonally from Marvel, that are more character pieces and everything. And if it works, they move forward. If it doesn't work, they can't. It gets shit canned. The big problem though is that they've already, as we mentioned, there's so much damage done to the brand already. Yeah. That the fact that they're moving on with this, you have a very loyal and very large group of fan base to Zack Snyder's films that are now making sure that they boycott the new stuff that comes out. And between that and the brand damage that's already been done, these things that should be hits aren't hitting as strongly as they should, and that's going to be what ends up determining what the future of this is. As of right now, all the rumors and all the things happening behind the scenes indicate that Warner Brothers is very happy with this version of the film, as they've already approached Colin Farrell about doing a Penguin spinoff show for HBO Max. Because I think that everyone pretty much universally agreed that Colin Farrell's Oswald Cobblepot from the trailer is insane because you don't even recognize him at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different take for the Penguin.
Well, you don't recognize that it's Colin Farrell at all. You don't know the makeup job was just outstanding.
Apparently, they're talking about giving him his own HBO Max series.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, is that if Warner Brothers wasn't happy with what has been done with the Batman, they wouldn't be looking to move forward with that. Hell,
it would be kind of cool though, having a Colin Farrell Penguin show on HBO Max, and then you can see the first episode where he has a sister who's better and smarter than him and everything.
Oh God, I fucking hope not.
And she has she has two umbrellas. That's
Please,
that'd be great.
I don't think that's Matt Reeves's and that's the whole thing, is Matt Reeves is going to be in charge of a lot of these stuff. I mean, hell, Reeves is the one that's bringing back. He's working with Bruce Timm and a few other people to do a Batman animated series with the aesthetic of the Gold Age. Reeves really likes him some Batman, and he really likes the detective stuff. And that's why I am optimistic for this film. I don't think I'm more than.
Wolverine says, I like the idea of bringing a detective Batman to the screen for the first time, but in no way can I handle the homely, greasy, unwashed looking hair, emo Bruce Wayne.
I think that's a very big part of his character journey in this. When you listen to Reeves talk about the film, it's very much, this isn't a Batman origin story. But I do think that this is the story of how Batman realizes the role Bruce Wayne needs to play, because it's very clear from the trailer that he's shut off. Bruce Wayne this is a point in Batman's career where he sees Bruce Wayne still as the useless 10-year-old kid in the alley who couldn't stop his parents from getting shot. So this is a Batman that hasn't realized the usefulness of Bruce. And I mean that's pretty consistent with earlier Batman stuff. Is like Bruce Wayne, like why would I bother being Bruce Wayne? What did Bruce Wayne do in the alley? What could Bruce Wayne do for this city that I can't do as Batman? And that's what, you know, when I listen to Matt Reeves talk about it, and what this all comes down to is me listening to Reeves talk about his interpretation of this, and it sounds like someone that actually gives a shit, not your standard like fucking Hollywood person that just spouts off a bunch of super popular comics and feels like they're reading a script. No, you listen to Reeves talk about this, and you can tell he's a guy that's been reading these books for most of his life. I
saw that happen once. Like this, I think it was like what EFAP kind of covered a guy named Patrick Willems. I think it's Patrick Willems. He's like, you guys say that I'm not an actual nerd or whatever. Here's like a list of a bunch of famous books that everyone knows about and has.
Yeah. Well, like, and that's the whole thing is like
5 minutes of Google searching.
Yeah, like you get the pictures of the actors being like, oh, I'm such a comic book nerd, and they're like reading like the most recent books of the character, or if they're reading an older book of the character, it's like the most iconic story they have. It's not exactly like you're reading a hidden cult classic there, buddy.
Not digging them deep cuts.
But like the fact that, you know, they asked Matt Reeves, hey, what's your favorite Batman story? And he immediately responds, Batman Ego. I went, well, that's not one that I would have expected anyone that doesn't know who the fuck doesn't really know anything about Batman to pick. It's not like you go into a list of top 10 Batman books and Ego is there. Like you would expect someone to say Hush. You'd expect someone to say Dark Knight Returns.
Killing Joke.
Killing Joke or Long Halloween.
Legitimately one of mine because that is pretty good. The Killing Joke has a lot of good stuff in there.
Well, you know, the funny thing about all these really good ones, if you can discover them before somebody like overblows it, like like Watchmen, you know, if you can read that before it gets spoiled for you, or Strike Force, We Who Are About to Die, Strike Force Moratori. There's another story that came out around that same time. Mm-hmm. If you can get a hold of these classics before somebody, you know, overblows them for you, you can actually understand why they are so beloved, why they're so awesome. You know, so that's the problem with these top 10 lists and, you know, the greatest stories ever and whatnot. They were that good, and then they, you know, everybody raves about them and they get overblown, you know.
But like that's the whole thing. Like I completely agree with you. It's one of those things where, and I think that you can still appreciate it after it gets spoiled. Like I hadn't read The Watchmen before I had seen the movie. I didn't know about it. Dude, you have to realize I didn't really get into full on collecting until I was in high school, and I am younger than you.
No, I know. No, I mean, listen, I work in my childhood comic shop, man. I have people come in all the time. It's just, I feel like we got a pretty damn good movie for what Zack Snyder, because he can pull off the images. Like if you give him a comic book to follow, he can pull off the images. But you'd let him write something, and you get into the DCEU and the clusterfuck known as Sucker Punch.
Yeah, well, that was always my thing. Is I joked about that. I think once on one of Lit Dev's streams, I was like, if you give Zack Snyder a comic book and you say make this happen, but don't touch any of the script, just make the pictures happen. The script is set. The words there are going to be what these people say. You don't do anything. Just make it happen. Zack Snyder will do it, and he'll do it very well. I mean, 300 is a perfect example of that. Like, yes, there are a few added scenes here or there, but none of them are integral to the plot. They're just more action sequences. Yeah, to fill it up.
Nothing to change the story, just to fill it out a little bit. Exactly. Yeah. So
that's the whole thing. Like 300 was good because it was literally you take this graphic novel, make it into movie. Do not do anything different.
Do not do anything different. Yeah. Well, he's a student of Michael Bay, you know. Yeah.
And when you confine him like that, and you make sure that he doesn't have any agency over the creative aspects from storytelling, you'll be fine. But the moment that you do that, you get Superman who doesn't give a shit about saving people and is willing to snap a villain's neck in his first movie, and Jonathan Kent telling him that he should have let a bus full of kids drown. Like, and
what?
Then,
you know, I went into that movie like I don't like Superman. I think Superman is a boring character.
Yeah,
you know, just because
we've had our discussion.
We could do another one of these about Superman, actually. But I went into Superman Returns, you know, with an open mind. I fell asleep in it because it was boring.
That's not even. That's like, oh, cool. You went into the movie that was literally just a nostalgia play for the Chris Reeves.
Oh my God, it was
didn't even have a plot.
I mean, back before we found out about Kevin Spacey, but who hires Kevin Spacey and then tells him to act exactly like Gene Hackman and not let him explore the character on his own? Good job, Brian. Good job. You left the X-Men franchise to do that.
Well, he's also gone from all franchises and is in prison because he's a fuckhead.
Yep. So I mean, anyway,
it was even a piece of shit when those were being made. Anyways,
but, you know, I don't like Superman, so I went into, you know, Man of Steel thinking, okay, we'll see, you know, see what this is, and you know, it wasn't terrible. I mean, the action was over the top and a little ridiculous, but you know, destruction porn basically.
It was Dragon Ball Z. That's what it was.
Yes.
Like, there's no sugarcoating it. It was literally like they literally might have. They literally could have just had them screaming at one another and then just a massive explosion, and you would have had the same effect of Man of Steel.
Actually, in Dragon Ball Z, they take care to not battle in cities and stuff.
Yeah, they actually think about it.
Like, hey, maybe we should go somewhere else where it's you know, safer away from the cities.
Well, I mean,
okay. Damn, you're
didn't
right.
They do that to Cell? Didn't they drag Cell?
They do that
out?
to all of them.
Yeah.
Fucking Boo, all of them.
Even Vegeta. They're like, hey, Vegeta, can you move over here?
Let's do this where people can't get hurt. Just go, oh, cool. All it took was that line of dialogue. Awesome.
Even a moron like Goku was like, hey, maybe we should probably not fight in the city.
Yeah. Yep. But no. Build it through buildings, you know, all of Gotham destroyed, you know, or
Metropolis.
Whatever, Metropolis. Well, I mean, they're right across a fucking bay, apparently, which is what?
It's like hey, man, what do you mean that we need that you should have settings feel different, and you know that
one city is always like, you know, light and airy, Metropolis, and then Gotham is always like, you know, it's just right across the bay, but it's always dark there.
It's that scene from Lion King. Everything the sun touches is Metropolis. What's over there? That's Gotham City. We
don't go there. Okay, you know, looking at the shoulder here, because I've got, you know, the picture in the background here. It looks like this Batman movie is going to be a very, you know, down to earth, kind of gritty, realistic, you know, detective scene. So my problem with the Nolan movies always was there is no room for the fantastic in those movies. Not at all. You'll never see Clayface. You will never see Man-Bat. You'll never see any of Batman's more out there rogues gallery. In this universe, would you? I mean, Riddler's a pretty down to earth street level villain. You know, you can play him up. But like,
and obviously I can't, like, since the movie's not out yet, like, we can't fucking make any judgments.
Speculate.
But
what do you think?
Based off of
what you've seen, yeah.
Not even just based off what I've seen, rumors for what they're setting up in the second movie. Like the second movie, because it's like Reeves signed a multi-picture contract, right? Like he is technically set in for, I think, 3 films. And so, like, the rumors of what's going to happen in the second movie is going to be Mr. Freeze, right? So if that is legit, if that is what they're planning on doing, and I swear to God, if Reeves doesn't just effectively copy Cold Heart, I will rage, because it's like it is the best Mr. Freeze story. But like the whole
I could see Freeze being the pivoting point, going from this base level detective, like dude in a suit, to all right, there's a little bit more here, because that opens it up to, you know, other things. Okay.
And that's my whole thing is I think that what Reeves is trying to do, or at least what I'm hoping, because I could obviously be full of shit. And in March of next year, this movie comes out, and I could end up eating all of my words, and it turns out to be a giant bag of diaper shit, and like I'll own that, you know, like everybody has a few times where they can be completely wrong about something, and I'm more than willing to own when I fuck up.
Well, hey man, you're more than allowed to be hopeful for something to not be utter dog shit.
That is also fair. But
I can say you a brave man for doing it, but
you know, my whole thing is that like I have a lot of faith in Reeves as a director, and based off of how he's talked about Batman in his appearances, I really do think that he isn't just another Hollywood guy pretending to know Batman. He is someone that gives a shit. Like that was the thing with Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan didn't care about Batman. You could tell in his, like, he straight up even said in his interviews, I don't read comic books. I've never read a Batman comic. I'm never going to read a Batman comic, but I did like the idea of this human superhero. And like that was his whole thing. When you listen to Reeves talk about Batman, it is a very, very different thing. And so what I am hoping is that this first movie is a bit more grounded to bring in the people that like Nolan, that liked those movies, and then slowly edge into the more fantastical elements. Because one of the big things that this movie is allegedly setting up is that the Court of Owls will be the villain of will be the overarching villain of the trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's be pretty cool because the Court of Owls is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I've actually never read Court of Owls, but I love Greg Capullo's artwork. Well,
like that is actually there were very few good things about New 52. And
so the
Snyder Capullo run was definitely on that slim list of good things. That and like the Jeff Johns Aquaman run for whatever reason. Like,
is that the one where he had the water hand?
No, it's the one where like they completely redid everything, and like probably the moment that I knew that I was going to enjoy the Jeff Johns Aquaman run was in the first volume, The Trench, where it's like the second or third page. He goes into like a seafood restaurant and is trying to eat like fish and chips, and some jackass that's sitting behind him recognizes him as Aquaman and just goes, "Hey, don't you talk to fish? Why are you eating it?" And he just goes, "Why wouldn't I?" And it's just like, I don't talk to fish. I use telepathy. Fish are stupid. So I just communicate to the like part of their brains that says, get out of my way or go do something. And I tap into that. They don't talk. They're retarded. I'm going to eat my
Have you
fish.
talked to fish? Some of them are assholes. All right. So, okay. So there could be a plan, you know?
Yeah. Like, and ultimately all this is effectively speculation.
Well, of course. I mean, it's why it's, subjective symposium.
Yeah.
You know? We're speculating. It's all subjective via our opinion. And we're talking about a certain subject with an audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a theory, a film theory, and
Lit Dev, what do you think, man?
I don't know. That marketing strategy was terrible because it made me not want to watch it.
But that's the whole thing is that like my thing with this is because it ended up working for like, you know, we really don't like Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe. But because everybody heard how shitty it was, everyone went to go watch it anyway to get their own opinion on it.
I was like, no, I don't want to see. I don't want to.
I realized that you weren't, but like the Netflix algorithm blew up because of that show. People were going on there to watch it to see if it was really as bad as they thought.
That is true, and he was really pompous. He was like, everyone likes it, everyone loves it. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
you guys are
no,
morons.
it only works once, and Warner Brothers at least realizes it. So like they capitalize on it and get the initial thing. So that way, if it's good, they can justify it by being like, oh well, it was good anyway. People actually enjoyed it and move forward. But if it was shitty, then they just go, oh well, they didn't. We can just null their contract and what have you and move on to the next fucking thing. That's why I say it's high stakes poker. If they win, they get a jackpot. If they lose, they just cut their loss, fold their hand, and move on to the next one.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of playing it close to the chest.
And what's kind of satisfying seeing Kevin Smith be this really pompous jerk for a while and say, everyone loves it, you're just morons. And then it immediately dropped off like a brick. It just fell off the wagon.
Well, it's funny because they've released the new Masters of the Universe show, and Netflix is actively trying to derail it.
What?
So they have an actual kid-friendly one that was more of a reimagined
and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's done in the style of Troll Hunters, which was a very successful show for kids. And it's more of a reimagining than it is like straight up He-Man Masters of the Universe. Like it's still He-Man Masters of the Universe. Adam is still the main character and everything like that. But it's these guys' own take on it. Mm-hmm. And they have derailed it. It's already out on Netflix. And the only reason why I know that is because I saw someone tweet about it. So I went and I checked the Rotten Tomatoes to see if I was alone. And so it's got a 62% rating from the audience. No critic scores. None. Which means not even the critics know about it. Netflix is actively trying to derail that show so that they can justify renewing Kevin Smith's one.
Wow. That's horrendous. Like why pay for two shows then? Why make two shows?
Outrage marketing does work, but it really only works once because no one.
Yeah, no, and that's why Warner Brothers is at least smart about it, which is a very odd thing to say because they haven't been smart about anything in fucking years.
It's kind of like remember Lower Decks? That was outrage marketing. Like, it was awful. It's just the worst thing they ever done to Star Trek, and it's kind of saying something.
Yeah,
but it worked for a little bit because then everyone forgot about it. They have like a second season, nobody cares.
But that's the whole thing is that with Warner Brothers, they are looking at it and they're like, okay, we did the outrage marketing to make sure that everybody's eyes was on it. If it gets really good feedback from critics, audiences, and it starts to brings in a decent enough box office haul, we move forward because that's a win because we got the eyes on it and people were talking about it, and then worst case scenario, when
this just strikes me as cowardly marketing. Like we don't have enough confidence in our product, so we're gonna make you talk about it. And
this is also
if you're right, then you're vindicated.
This is also Time Warner Entertainment, which has a fucking history.
Oh do not get me started on BT Time Warner right now.
So that's the whole thing is that what this all boils down to is that it's a shitty fucking strategy, but it's one that is paying dividends, and it gives them justification to completely axe contracts. Like I guarantee you that we're Aquaman 2 is going to happen. Jason Momoa and Amber Heard will have their contract axed because Aquaman 2 is not going to make anywhere near the money it should, even with the even when adjusted for pandemic, right? It's not going to meet the threshold because they've already pissed because it's already pissed people off. And Warner Brothers didn't even really have to do anything with that. They just ended up going against better advice and going ahead with Amber Heard's contract and what have you because she was lawyering up. But That's the whole deal. It's like I can at least understand their methodology behind it because they create this controversy to get the focus that there's fabricated controversy that puts the focus on them, and then if it does well, they can continue. If it doesn't do well, now they have all this fabricated bullshit that they can use to be like, oh yeah, there were all these issues, there was all this stuff, and now we've axed everybody's contracts, and because everyone's under NDA,
they can no longer say anything.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Like it's high stakes poker. They're not showing, and that's why you never hear. That's why Warner Brothers' response to everything is silence. You will never hear Warner Brothers comment to negative rumors. You will never hear Warner Brothers comment on anything. Their whole thing is silence. It is high stake. It is literally high stakes poker. They do not say anything about anything. It doesn't matter how many bazillion rumors fly out there about this, that, the other. They will not fucking speak on it. They won't confirm it. They won't deny it. They won't do anything.
Confirm or deny.
They just stay silent.
These rumors are allegations.
You look at the other side at Marvel, and their strategy right now is deny everything. It doesn't matter how many things have actually leaked out. Like everybody knows that fucking No Way Home or whatever the fuck they're deciding to call Spider-Man 3 is a multiverse movie where all the Spider-Men are going to show up, and you still have Andrew Garfield and you still have Tom Holland going, oh yeah, we're not like, there are no other Spider-Men in that movie. Like, no, I'm not going to be in it. And like, we actively have pictures of them on set.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's a little ridiculous. Like, okay, cat's out of the bag. As much as you want to, deny it, yeah.
The trailer came out and fucking Otto Octavius from Spider-Man 2 shows up. It's like, are we sure we want to keep playing this game?
And Electro, albeit a different looking Electro, but still Jamie Foxx Electro.
Yeah.
Looking, more like Electro, but still the energy based being.
Yeah.
Norman,
like Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Yeah, to be fair, the casting of Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin in both of those films was spot on. Willem Dafoe's a great Green Goblin.
All the villains in those movies were good. Like the only bad casting that ever happened in the Raimi Spider-Man films was Topher Grace as Venom.
Oh no, that's Kirsten Dunst. Don't go watch Spider-Man 3 ever, but especially do not go watch Spider-Man 3 in an IMAX theater, because the close-ups on Kirsten Dunst's face, like her forehead, just fucking huge. Sorry, but yeah, no, I will never forgive the casting director for casting Topher Grace, who cast Eric Foreman as Eddie Brock.
What's
Olympic level athlete.
You know what was really funny is that he was actually in the front running to play Peter in the first movie. Like it was between him, Toby, and somebody else. And it's really funny because I think back to that. He actually would have been a really good Peter Parker.
I don't know if he could have sold the Spider-Man though.
Once you're in the mask, so long as you've got the physicality, he can do smartass really well.
Yeah, smartass, yes, but like quippy and funny, I don't know.
That's one of those things that it's never going to happen. So,
I know. I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but his amazing. Peter Parker was way too much of a hipster for me.
Yeah, but I felt
wearing the Ramones shirt and skateboarding and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I see you.
That's more Mark Webb than that is Andrew Garfield.
Exactly.
Did you see the statement he made today? That's gone viral. Garfield.
No.
It made me cry. It was so beautiful. It was like, I didn't, my time as Spider-Man wasn't to me, it wasn't about making t-shirts or McDonald's toys or anything. It was about letting normal kids feel like they could be something more than they are. And I just went, oh, look, someone gets it. Oh man, it was almost like you had the perfect guy playing Spider-Man that actually gave a shit. Oh,
Multiverse.
yeah,
That's the new writer's crunch that everybody uses.
no,
Seriously.
like I just don't even like. I am going to see it solely because I want to see Andrew Garfield play Spider-Man again.
Mhm.
Tom Holland was really good in Civil War, and I enjoyed Homecoming, but Far From Home, it was like, you guys have completely fucked up everything here, and you've completely missed the point. This isn't Iron Man Jr., dude.
Yeah, that's my biggest point of contention as well. It's not Iron Man Jr. Like
At least in Homecoming, Tony was an influential person in his life, but he was still Spider-Man. His whole thing was, I want to be an Avenger,
right.
but he's still Spider-Man.
Right.
In Far From Home, people are literally asking him if he's going to become the next Iron Man. And his whole thing is, I don't know if I can be Iron Man. How can I be Iron Man?
That part's actually kind of hilarious if you know like the history of Spider-Man, where like Stan Lee was like, you know what? There was a bunch of like teenagers, the teenage heroes, but none of them were actually heroes. They're all sidekicks.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I wanted the teenage hero who's not a sidekick. Here we go again.
Just
and the MCU reverses it.
Yeah, no
Good
shit.
job.
And
at least
there was something different. Make him a sidekick. Like,
within
here we go
a
again.
year of Stan Lee passing too. It was like they just waited for it on cue, and I think that's what also makes me feel so gross about the movie is the fact that it's the first movie that in the MCU released that was in production after Stan Lee died.
Yeah.
Like he was alive for Endgame, he was alive for Infinity War, and then the first one where Stan Lee wouldn't have had any control over anything because he was dead, he couldn't voice anything about it, was Spider-Man Far From Home, where they make him not a hero.
Well, not the hero. They make him, timid sidekick.
He's not even really a fucking hero. He's spending he's using he accidentally uses Tony's glasses to almost assassinate a fucking classmate.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny teenage, high school hijinks with like tech weaponry.
How many John Hughes movies do you have a teenager get a hold of a weapons class drone? And
it's John Hughes with Iron Man tech. I mean, the thing that irks me is that Peter is his own scientist. At least in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, he builds his own web shooters. Like the trial and error scene where he's like tweaking his web shooters and explodes on his face. He's like, crap. And he's like pulling webs off of him. That's the kind of stuff that I wanted to see. I wanted to see the kid from Queens, out there making his stuff in the fucking shed, But no, they didn't really have that. I mean, I don't even did in the first Spider-Man movie. Did he actually make his web shooters?
He actually has web shooters that he made that were a part of his original costume. Tony Stark had provided like the upgraded suit via Civil War, but he does have homemade web shooters like he made, and he does. They kind of just
glossed over that. And also the whole, the line. With great power comes great responsibility. They've never said that, and they've actually never mentioned Uncle Ben either.
Well, I mean, so this was my whole thing, and this is why I liked Civil War, and this is why I liked Homecoming. Was that while Uncle Ben is never mentioned, his presence is always felt. Fucking when Tony asks him, "Why do you do this?" in Civil War, he says, "Well, it's because when you can do the things that I can do." And you don't do something, when something goes wrong, it's your fault.
What's up, Lola?
Like which is effectively with great power comes great responsibility without saying it.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, Uncle, like clearly that's happened. And then in Homecoming, when his buddy Ned finds out that he's Spider-Man, and he's like, oh, I've got to tell everybody. He's like, really? You can't. Do you think May will let me keep doing this if after everything that's happened? Like, do you think May would let me keep doing this after everything that's happened, Ned? She wouldn't let me. You can't tell her, right? Like his presence was felt in both of those movies, even though he never showed up. The loss of Ben Parker was something that affected Spider-Man and the decisions that he made going into that. And Far From Home was the first time where Ben, it did, like, outside of his initials appearing on a suitcase, Ben Parker had no presence in the movie. There was none.
MCU Spider-Man refuses responsibility as in Far From Home.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. We'll see what this new one does. I mean, I like Doctor Strange. I'm curious to see what Sam Raimi's going to do with Doctor Strange. But the rest of the slate, I'm not really excited.
I don't have a lot of high hopes for that one either. I like Sam Raimi, but his time is past. Like, if you look at the past things he's done as a director, it's not like he's been batting 1,000 lately.
That's sad because there are two movie posters on my living room wall. I'm looking at them right now. They are The Evil Dead and Night of the Living Dead. And Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, all those. I love those movies. Yeah, they're fucking great.
They're great.
And
he's stepped back for, like, the best things that he's done lately. He hasn't been the director. He's been like the producer or EP. So, like, he's not really involved.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this will be a return to form. I mean,
maybe. I don't think that it would matter if
he's the
did.
director.
Like, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, Fizz is technically correct because the MCU doesn't allow like, that was one of the thing that was really interesting about watching James Gunn's Suicide Squad, is seeing that even though it still has some of James Gunn's things,
signature flair.
The signature flair that you see in things like Guardians of the Galaxy, stylistically, it's such a different film. To even the way that he shot certain sequences are things that were brilliant, but he would never be allowed to do in a Marvel film because it doesn't fit into their formula. It doesn't fit into what they want. And so, like, he's technically right. Sam Raimi has to work within the confines of the Marvel formula, which is why people are getting tired of fucking Marvel.
I mean, a formula gets really boring after a while because it's the same shit over and over again. You know,
it's almost as if the shit didn't work when they tried it in the comics.
I mean, it's people, as especially people that consume stories all the time, and pay attention to stories. If you see repetition over and over again, your mind stops paying attention. You know?
What do you mean? I heard from the professionals in the comic industry that comics are booming. So it's never been better. It's never been better. So obviously it works, I guess.
Hey, manga sales count.
God damn it! You know, I was actually telling Lit Dev this while we were waiting for you. Over the past few weekends, I've actually had people come in to the comic shop looking specifically for manga. You know, I've been working there for almost 5 years, and this is the first time that, like, 3 people in one day, 3 separate occasions, people have come in looking for manga.
I mean,
and this has happened consistently.
Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Oh, they're effectively just a bunch of indie books because they're all creator-owned IPs that the creator stays with and does the entire series, and they actually give a shit about the stories they're telling.
Because
it's
even more than that too. Because I was reading. Someone suggested to me in my chat that I read this book by the guy who writes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And this guy is based, like, the first few chapters is just him dropping truth bomb. That would just blow the minds of all these new comic book creators in America. The ones that they hired off of Twitter because they have the same haircut or whatever. And it would just blow their minds because this guy was like, it affirms my theory that the manga creators in Japan are forged in the fire of competition.
Damn right.
The guy who wrote JoJo, as you know, and many people who know in America, that became one of the most legendary series and is what I consider a gift to mankind. Is he started off when he always wanted to be a manga creator, and then at 16 he was like, I need to stop saying I want to be one, and I'm saying I'm going to be one. And then what really sparked him off though was that he was already submitting stuff and he was getting rejected. And the thing is, when he was 16. Ultimate Muscle came out, and he heard that there's a duo who was in charge of that, and that they were the same age as him. And he's like, "Wait a minute, what am I doing wrong?" Obviously, it's not because of my age. So he started going to this arduous journey of getting all the popular manga, studying first pages. He has a whole section on this, the first page. And studying the first page is what are they doing, what are titles like, exactly what are they doing to get recognized? Because the thing is, he knows he can't get recognition unless he wins a contest. And that seems to be the same thing for a lot of manga creators out there. That they can't really get recognition. Like once they win the contest, they've made it. But they have to win the Shonen Jump contest and get published in Shonen Jump. They have to do that in order to get like the recognition that they can actually make a living doing that job. And so he studies for a long time. He reads the books, he reads the manga, he reads the most popular ones, why they work, why they don't. And he figures out, it's a lot of stuff Neil Gaiman also talks about. And it's like two people I've read about, listened to, that live like on the other side, the opposite side of the world, but they're both writers and they both go to the same experiences. They both started off copying someone else. But like Neil Gaiman sounded like someone else when he started writing it at first, when he was a teenager. The guy who made JoJo, his art looked like some of the guys that he liked. And he's like, you know what? If an editor got this artwork, and editors go through hundreds, maybe even thousands of submissions a day, he would go, another one of these, another copycat of that guy. Now you have to find, and this is what you call. He didn't say this, but I was like, he's talking about finding your own voice, which is what Neil Gaiman talks about.
Yes.
Where at first you sound like other people, because at first you have a lot of inspirations from writers and things that you admire. You might sound like Tolkien, you might sound like Chuck Palahniuk, you might sound like Bret Easton Ellis, you might sound like Neil Gaiman. But then after a while, you have to practice first, and after you practice a bunch of times, you write. Everyone has their own threshold. But but it does take practice. It does take you actually writing things, oddly enough, to become a writer. And then eventually you will have your voice. You eventually have your voice. The same thing with the JoJo creator. He's like, I drew more and I tried to make my own art style and tried to see how I can do things and how I can do things differently. And then eventually he found his own voice and, eventually created JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It was really cool how he got the name. He's like, you know what? I wanted to go with this extraordinary name and the use of extraordinary languages and everything. Which is exactly how the American pulp author did it back in the day. Like it's like you listen to like a pulp editor is like, okay, we need to have this and this and this and this and all kinds of. We need to have murder and blood and gore and violence and monsters and murderers and rapists and all kinds of stuff like that. So it was the same thing. Like he wanted to sell. He didn't really want to make like a groundbreaking story, but he did want to get recognized by Shonen Jump, and he did want to make something that would sell, and he did want to make something that people would read. Now today, that would be out of nowhere. Like, what do you mean? So that's why I'm thinking that it's. Ever seen one of those movies where it's like there's like a group of people like the giant empire, and everyone thinks they're great and invincible, and then but the thing is, all their warriors have been wishing on the laurels this whole time because they've been like unmatched and unchallenged. Then here comes like this new guy out of nowhere. This guy is a vagabond. He's look all ratty and everything. And then everyone's like, I want to beat this guy, no problem. And then he just takes on like 5 of their elite warriors, no problem, and slices and dices them up. That's what manga's doing to American comics right now. And I was like, oh, the American comic books, they're a towering entity. They got the big two, legendary Marvel, legendary DC. And then here comes manga, like one manga series. Demon Slayer? Yeah, Demon Slayer.
Yeah, Demon Slayer. And that sold the entirety of our North American comic book industry.
Like some people say that, that's not true. You're not adding this and this and this. But that's not the point. The point is not that it outsold the entirety of the industry. The point is that it could be reasonably compared to all the sales of the entire industry. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe the American comic book industry outsold Demon Slayer. I always keep Dragon Slayer. Demon Slayer.
That's not even like the big thing is like, so when people the issue with that whole argument that people have is that because it's done based off of the money, and so manga books are obviously more expensive than the standard American comic. Yeah. So like when you're looking at that, you have to adjust for the price point. But even still,
get so much more. You get so much more in a manga volume.
Yeah, like
thick square bound volume.
Even when you adjust for that price point, right? And you go, okay, so like let's look at this effectively by units sold as opposed to dollars sold, or dollars made rather. It's still one of those things that if Demon Slayer isn't the #1 comic sold, it's within the top 10.
It's pretty close. It's kind of like when when EVS was starting out with the Comicsgate, and he made $1 million, and then someone's like, "Oh, you only made $1 million." Well, this comic book over here, like way over here, they made like a $2 million, like Order of the Stick or whatever. It's like, this is, he didn't make as much as Order of the Stick, maybe, but that's still phenomenal. Like it's still like something that shouldn't happen for a guy who's working out of his basement or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like stuff like they want to downplay it, like, oh, Demon Slayer didn't sell, it didn't actually outsell all the entire comic industry. Well, I mean, people are comparing it to the entire comic industry regardless. In order for you to cause it to be insignificant, remotely insignificant, we have to say that it didn't quite outsell the entirety comic industry.
It doesn't even matter, and the reason for it is that even if Demon Slayer didn't outsell the entire comic book industry, it sure as shit outsold Bendis' Superman.
Oh yeah, and Batman.
Bendis took it. Like I know, Luke, you said we've already established that you're not a fan of Superman, but like Superman is a comic. Superman is a comic. Superman is a comic that should not be making less than 90,000.
Exactly, and that's what I mean.
Neither should Batman.
Right? The Titans of Batman.
Neither of them should.
The Titans of Batman, Titan and Superman. You would think they'd be able to dominate some lucky, like Johnny Come Lately manga series from half the world away, and no one's ever heard of over here in America. And then it comes in this raggedy one series of one guy or one team or whatever comes in, and then here's the Titans, the Batman, the Colossus of Superman. They come in, and this guy just tears them to pieces. Demon Slayer tears them to pieces with no problem.
I guarantee you, My Hero Academia outsells both Batman and Superman at this point.
I think so too. Yeah.
Demon. And like to its credit, Demon Slayer is a really solid shonen. It would not have gotten the popularity it did if the anime were not so absolutely fucking stunningly beautiful.
I think that's because Christian Golden Eagle says that anime doesn't really sell that much compared to manga. It's like he kind of describes it as the anime is like a really expensive commercial for the manga, and
pretty much, man. Well, and that's the whole thing, is that everybody saw the Demon Slayer anime, and because of how absolutely gorgeous everything is in it, they just went and fucking read the book. Like I haven't read all of the book because I prefer watching the anime. There have only been a few series that I've actually gone through and read the manga from the beginning and what have you. And like I need to be doing it with more, because the manga really does go into way more detail on stuff that the animes miss. But like Demon Slayer's like whole thing was that they translated the manga in such a way where it's just so absolutely beautiful, and the film, I just don't feel like I'd be able to get that from reading the book. But like people went fucking nuts because they're like, I need to know what's going on. And like by all accounts, my buddy who's a huge manga guy, is like, Demon Slayer is good, but like it's nothing revolutionary in terms of the shonen genre. It's pretty much your run of the mill shonen, which isn't a bad thing. It's nothing revolutionary. The only reason why it has the attention that it does is because of the anime, and that's what the Western market paid attention to. And they have, like, season 2 isn't out yet, so people want to find out what's happening next. And what are they doing? They're buying the fucking books. And because the books are very easy to follow, and the companies aren't replacing the characters every 5 fucking seconds with people that they don't recognize, those people buy those books. It's almost as if the MCU could have actually gotten Marvel on the right track financially if, while the MCU was going on, they didn't do all new different and swap up everybody.
I will never, as long as I live, understand why the fuck they did that.
Like, oh, cool! I want to go see. I want to go see Iron Man. I want to go. I heard Iron Man had a good comic. Let me go check him out. See what Iron Man comics look like. Oh, who's Riri Williams? Who's this randomly?
Like,
wait a minute. Where's Tony Stark?
Oh, you know,
I really like Steve Rogers. This was really cool. Wait.
Oh, he's a Nazi now. Oh, okay.
How
about, you know what? That's
Well,
fine. How about
Thor? Yeah, you really like Thor.
Yeah, how about Thor? Oh, Thor's a woman. What the
hell?
How
is he a woman now?
How did this happen?
Wait a minute. Where's Bruce Banner? What happened to him? He's dead? What? Yeah.
Now it's like Soy Boy Hulk. Who's this Soy Boy Hulk guy? Who's this Amadeus Cho? Who is this guy?
Amadeus Cho was his own character before that. He had like this little AI thing that like floated around, and he could like control his center of gravity and shit like that. It was in an issue, a Frank Cho drawn issue of, I want to say it was Savage Wolverine. I think
he was his own character, and they were trying to figure out what the fuck to do with him because he was doing all sorts of shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was cool. I mean, I'd never seen him before, but he was cool. He was different. It was different than what I'd seen, and all of a sudden, next thing I knew, I was like, wait a minute, this dude's the Hulk now? What? Why?
Why?
Why? Who?
And he's better than Bruce Banner Hulk because he's smart and he's as strong.
Yeah, the stuff that comes. Yeah,
and he's soy and submissive. That's what makes him perfect.
I don't know. If somebody tries to tell you that the newer stuff is better just because it's newer, just remember that car manuals used to tell you how to test the valves on your car, and now it just tells you not to drink the battery acid.
Don't drink the battery acid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've come a long way, haven't we? All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Any final thoughts on The Batman, Literature Devil?
Well, I think this has won enough. Like the movie itself, I was always interested in going to see it. I just had some really, really off-putting messages coming in from it, like, oh, he doesn't want to work out. Oh, he's lazy. Mm-hmm. That's a marketing strategy. It's the worst marketing strategy they could have ever put forward.
It is.
I was excited, and then, oh, this guy obviously doesn't care about his role. So this is another instance of nobody caring about this movie. They're just putting up for money and for the title's sake. So I kind of lost interest in it for a very long time. But I think I was going to go see it anyway because it didn't seem that offensive, and it didn't seem like it's over top woke. The only thing that I saw that was woke was like they kind of replaced Gordon with Gordon being a redhead. They replaced him with a black man, but that's about it.
Well, and that wasn't even done. I don't even think that was done for the sake of that, because freaking Reeves has had like Jeffrey Wright on a list of people he's wanted to work with for fucking ages, and like if going back to the people that he's gotten to come work on this movie, like you look at, he's got Paul Dano playing the Riddler. Paul Dano was in fucking There Will Be Blood, he's got Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, all these people that are pretty fucking like really big deals as far as like B character actors that are pretty selective about the projects that they take on.
Right.
Like he could have gotten fucking anybody, but I think that Jeffrey Wright was always very similar to how people didn't really complain all that much when Billy D. Williams was playing Harvey Dent, and when when it was revealed that it was initially why am I blanking on his name? Tim Burton's idea that Billy D. Williams was going to become Two-Face. People were like, "Oh, that would have been so cool."
They're actually doing a comic book series about that now.
Yeah, the Batman 1989 book. So, but I think that it was more in the lines of he's really wanted to work with Jeffrey Wright. He needed to have a new Jim Gordon, and Jeffrey Wright as an actor plays that kind of character very well. I like it. Like a lot of my whole thing with Reeves is that he's never been one that pushes the political button. It's always about making good art. It's always about making a good story. And that's only what I have seen from him. For me, if I'm going to be putting my final thoughts on this, it's that, trust nothing that's come out about the movie. Even the shit with this fucking 3-hour, even the stuff with the test screening. Like, yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm really hopeful that it's true, and I have been very optimistic about this movie. And when the first trailer came out, I was through the roof. I fucking love it. And I am excited for it, but like, you cannot trust anything that's come out about this film. Every single 5 seconds, there is a contrary report. And it was always so annoying because, like, you know, Doomcock would do a new video, or Grace Randolph, and it'd all be about all this shit that was going on in the Batman set and how they were going to do extensive reshoots, this or that or the other. And then on the other side, you'd be like, yeah, they're doing reshoots, but like they only have Robert Pattinson and Colin Farrell on set, and they're like redoing 2 stunt scenes.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that he was on Twilight or whatever.
Yeah, like
I don't care.
Bruce Wayne. I don't ever really care about that. They can do that. It's just all the news that came around it. Like, oh no.
Like this is one of the rumors that came out that turned out to be completely bullshit, because like the whole thing was that he had allegedly been having sex with what's her name, Zoe Kravitz,
on the
Batmobile, and he had knocked her up. And like literally within like a week and a half of that, there was a photo shoot with Zoe Kravitz, and if this had happened during the production, she would have been rounding out at this point, and she was completely fine. And she's had photo shoots since and what have you. No signs of pregnancy. So like bullshit. And so like that's the whole thing, is that every single thing that has come out about this movie, positive or negative, that you've heard in the rumor sphere, even in social media posts on Twitter with the alleged, test screenings, you can't trust any of it. The movie just has to come out.
Of course.
Let it fucking come out, and then we can judge it then. If I'm an asshole and I end up being wrong, Luke can bring me back on here and laugh at me for an hour and a half. Like, I am more than open to it. Like, he can bring me on here and just laugh at me for an hour and a half while I cry into my wasted movie tickets of the Batman. Like that's fine. I'm good with it. But like at the end of the day, there is no point in throwing temper tantrums about the movie until it fucking comes out at this point, because everything that comes out about it is 99% full of shit.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like Lit Dev said, it's a very shitty marketing scheme. It kind of just makes me want to ignore it until I have people come into the shop and pester me about it. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Oh, fine. I'll watch it.
You know me, Luke. You'll probably hear about my thoughts about it.
I'm sure.
Like if I really like it, I'll be like blowing up everyone on Twitter and tagging me. I was fucking right. That movie was awesome. You
gonna pull a razor fist? Fuck you! I was right.
And it won't even matter if somebody was like, "Well, I didn't really like this." Like, no, fuck you. You go away. Victory lap.
Hey man, and I'm perfectly willing to be wrong. Like I said, the physicality for me in Batman has always got to be there, because this is a dude that swings around on a fucking rope, like
I mean,
that's why I was impressed by Batfleck for all he got to fucking do.
Well, and that's and I will say, and that's the one sour note about this, is that I genuinely believe that we were robbed, because the people that read Ben Affleck's script for his Batman film said it was incredible. Like Jay Oliva, who was the guy that did the screen treatment for the adaptation of Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2, said that it was the best Batman story he'd ever read.
Wow.
Like we were robbed. And Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke was inspired casting, and there's already rumor that they're doing a Deathstroke HBO Max series that will replace him as Deathstroke. So we were robbed, and that is the one sour note of the Batman that I will say is I do think that Ben should have gotten his shot. I am hoping.
I agree.
I am hoping that with the success of the Snyder Cut and HBO Max being kind of the hub of premier DC content, that Ben gets to do his movie as an HBO Max thing.
That'd be cool.
There has been whispers of that. But like as far as the Batman is concerned, I am optimistic. I do think that this movie is going to surprise people. I think Robert Pattinson is going to surprise people.
He may very well. I mean, I've had several people, including you, and a couple of my regulars, tell me, "Oh yeah, you should totally go check out The Lighthouse. It's a pretty fucked up movie."
Lighthouse. I honestly, as much as I enjoyed The Lighthouse, Robert Pattinson's acting, probably the best acting I've ever seen him do, was in a movie called The Devil All the Time, which is on Netflix. And he's in it. He's only in it for a very short period of time, but he plays this like scumbag pastor that's using his position to sleep with girls in the church. And
the congregation.
Yeah. And I don't think I have ever hated a person more than when I was watching Robert Pattinson play that guy. Cause like he fucking makes that dude despicable. And like, I always feel like that's a note of a very good actor. It doesn't take much for someone to act really good and make you want to like them. But like, you got to really be good at what you're doing to make people despise you.
You got to really dig into the character. You
yeah,
know? Absolutely. Well, you know, hopefully he'll bring that to the screen.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see, and maybe they are using this as a come, you like the Nolan verse? Come check out this real gritty Batman, and then expand into the fantastic. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. But like at the end of the day, I could also be wrong. So
yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I don't have a whole lot of faith in any of this. I think we're still in the midst of a lot of like piss poor writing. And I think we've got a little bit more of this before there's better writing. This could be one of the few exceptions, the exception that proves the rule, kind of like Joker.
It might be by some miracle, it might be average.
There is also that.
I think that if this movie is going to be anything, it's either going to be a dumpster fire or it's going to be a masterpiece. There's not going to be a lot of like you look at the creative team that has been assembled on this from a writing standpoint. You look at like Matt Reeves has written the script and is directing it, and like you look at Matt Reeves' accolades as both a writer and a director, and you just go, all right. This is either going to be like another just smash through the park, or he's really like this is going to be the first time he just fucking face plants, right? Like that's where I kind of stand on it. Like this movie, I don't see this being one of those movies where it just turns out to be like, well, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It's going to be either.
To be fair, in this day and age, average is masterpiece level.
No. I refuse to accept that, Lit Dev.
Considered.
No, I'm not. I don't play that shit. If a movie is good, it's good. If a movie is shit, it's shit. If it's in between, it's in between. Like this is what we had the whole discussion on the Green Knight for, Lit Dev. Why we did this, because it was very confusing. Because there was so much done right,
but so much that was weird. But
yeah, so like it wasn't even done wrong. It was just it didn't feel okay.
Something felt off about it. That was it.
But like, anyways, like as I said, it's either gonna. I think it really is gonna come down to this movie is either going to blow people away and is going to be one of those things that kind of defines how the average audience sees Batman again for the next few years, or it is going to be something that everyone is just kind of quietly putting under the rug and is like, just forget that happened, please. And then I'm going to see it.
There was an attempt.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it was there.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming to hang out on the inaugural episode of Subjective Symposium. and I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I've actually had a lot of ideas for different topics that I would really like to have expounded upon, especially with both of you, about the comics industry and as it compares to manga, because I don't know a lot. So that I want to talk to you guys about that at some point. But thank you guys so much for coming to hang out, everybody in the audience.
Hey, no problem. It was fun.
This was a blast. So we're going to go ahead and take on off. I appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time. Oh, that. Shit. This is what I meant to click. All right. Next time, catch it. Next time.